has been such a long time.
I
We've
know.
seen each other, and you've been very busy.
I
I
have
want
been,
to say
yeah.
congratulations on that. I know you've had award nominations. You've been putting out some great music. I was trying to remember. I was looking through some of my old photos. There's a photo of us at the when they still
Much.
had the Much Music Video Awards.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh man,
I walked the red carpet because I was nominated for an award. I can't remember which one, but like best new like dance artist or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And there's some other ones too. And I know we did an interview, and I do believe it was at a restaurant, and it was on the top level when we did it too.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think that was the last time where I physically really had a chance to see you.
Yeah, that must have probably been like 2019 or something.
Something like that. It was definitely before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And as we all know, the world has changed during and after. But what I found that was different that's changed is you, because I remember people always tried to put you into this sort of
Mm.
like 80s sound kind of thing.
Synth pop, 80s synth pop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You are not that, I mean, what you're doing was great and everything else, but you have come such a long way from that, where you have become such an amazing storyteller, and not just through lyrically and not just through musically, but vocally. I don't know what you've been doing with your vocals, but you have been hitting ranges I have never heard you do before. Can you talk about that and
Uh,
where that inspiration has been coming from?
well, it's nice to hear you say that because that was one of my goals with 222 specifically. I went to school for performance, for music performance. I'm a trained vocalist, and I feel really comfortable with my voice. And that's one of the reasons that I love performing is because I feel like I learned skills when I was at school that help with nerves and help with control. And I when I was writing 222, I was like, I get the same feedback a lot from music peers, from strangers, and that is whenever they see me live, they go, "You're better live than you are on your album." It's something that happens over and over again. It's such an interesting piece of feedback to get because you're like, I mean, thank you. That's great. But I wonder why that is, because I think it's usually the opposite. I think sometimes when you hear something glossy and mastered on an album and then you go see them live, it's maybe not quite as good. So it's an interesting kind of like reversal of compliment. But I basically was like, okay, well, if people are craving, more of a vocal flex, then let's give it to them. So when I produced the original demo for Just a Rose, the first song off the EP, and when I was writing that, I was having a hard time communicating to my producers like what I wanted to do for this EP. And I was like, okay, well, why am I not just like I'm a capable musician. I'm just going to try to write something and so that I can actually give them a tangible physical, piece of demo and be like this is what I want. So when I was writing that, I was like I can go high, let's go high. Let's like start the EP off with a bang and have people go, okay, I didn't know that she could do that. That is cool. That's, it's like if you have something that gives you an edge as an artist, then lean on it.
You definitely did that, because that's exactly what happened to me. Because I was just like, wait a minute, I've known her for years. I did not know she could hit those ranges. So thank you for the gift,
You're
because it's a
welcome.
gift
Thank you for the
for
compliment.
us. We've already mentioned, of course, you have a new EP, 222.
Hmm.
What does 222 mean? Is it 2022, or what does that mean?
No. 222 is an angel number. So any number in the sequence of threes is an angel number. I didn't really know about angel numbers, but when I started dating my girlfriend, she was like, "You keep texting me at 222. It's so weird. You've done it a couple times." She's like, "222 must be your angel number." And I looked it up, and the meaning for that specific series of numbers for 222 is the path that you're on is the path that you're supposed to be on right now. And it might feel challenging and you might hit obstacles and you might feel really um kind of you might lose your energy, you might lose your steam, but like it's the path that you're supposed to be on and it will pay off. This is the right place, and you stay on it, like, keep going. And I the moment that mantra, that sort of like meaning popped up in my life, I was like, wow, that just feels so perfect for what I'm trying to do right now with my career, with my artistry, with my EP. I felt like I was doing a lot of changes just in my personal life, and in my career. So I was like, I love this idea of like a little whisper in my ear that's like, keep going. It might feel hard, you might doubt yourself, but someone out there, because they say the angel numbers are also like potentially like a little visit from like an ancestor or like a spirit guide or someone who's passed who's encouraging you. And I love that idea of someone outside of this sort of, earthly world kind of like giving me a little nudge, going like, you got this.
So we're getting a little peek of your life because you released 2 music videos, correct?
I did, I directed and edited and produced Pain Relief, and then I edited Scary Hot.
Let's talk about Scary Hot because that's
Okay.
savage.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and if it was to if Scary Hot was to relate in your life, how does it? Because it really is one of those videos you have to watch beginning to end and then
Mhm.
watch again, but then you have to listen to all the other songs for that video to make sense.
Interesting. I love hearing how people perceive and kind of like digest my music and my aesthetics. Well, Scary Hot, like everything I write is always autobiographical. So Scary Hot
Nice.
is something that happened to me. And it's simply like I wanted to have it just be really simple and really flirty and kind of sexy. And it's just like about a hot hookup. So when I was coming up with the concept for the music video with my friend Arden, who directed it, we were talking about how it was written about myself and my girlfriend hooking up. So I was like, it has to be 2 women. It would just be so weird if it was not. And I want it to be a little edgy. Like I wanted to surprise people. So we were talking about how the idea behind Scary Hot, it's kind of that sexy line between pain and pleasure,
Yes.
where, you know what I mean? And so we were like, how can we kind of put that into imagery? And we were talking about, Fight Club and having this like queer Fight Club and having it be like, these 2 women kind of like Mr. and Mrs. Smith who, you see them kicking each other's butts, or trying to at least, but in the end you see this intimate moment where with a smile where you're like, okay, no one was actually getting hurt. Maybe the knife was fake. It was all just part of the game. Do you know what I mean? So it's just all about kind of like that, yeah, that line between pain and pleasure, and kind of walking on that line and just having fun with the imagery of it.
Okay, now what's the second video?
Pain relief.
Pain relief. Okay, this is the one where it's out in the field, and
Yeah.
okay, this is the complete opposite
Yeah,
of what we
completely.
just talked about. So how
Yeah.
does that video and song relate into your life? And to me, that video and song reminds me so much something that would be written in 1971.
I love that. Well, like I'm someone who does have deep roots in like the 70s and the 80s. And like I'm so inspired by retro sounds and imagery. So that does make sense that it just like weaves itself in there naturally. But basically I wrote the song when I was in LA by myself for 6 weeks last year, and I was really hitting a low point. I felt super uninspired. I felt really like lonely and lost with my music. And I was just kind of like, I think a lot this happens to artists where all of a sudden you just get consumed with self-doubt and you're like, what am I doing? Like, does anyone care? Do I care? Am I excited with what my job is? And do I feel motivated? Because it's so hard. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. So the moment you have that self-doubt and you let yourself lean into that, you're done. So I was kind of feeling that. And then that was starting to build like a sort of envy towards other artists that I perceived to be more successful than me. And I recognized that feeling, that sort of envious feeling. And I was like, I don't like that. That's not who I am. I've never been that person. I'm like, I champion other people, especially other women in music. So I wrote Pain Relief as this sort of like experiment, this like cathartic experiment to see if I vocalize these feelings, can I kind of rid myself of them? And I wanted the music video to really reflect that. So I wrote the treatment and then directed it, and we shot it in Malibu, and it was a close, really small crew, of like friends. Even my cousin was on it, and some friends of friends. And I wanted it to feel like this sort of dreamy, peaceful, connective narrative. Like, and there is a storyline, in it. But my stylist flew down from Toronto for 2 days. Literally, she brought all these amazing clothes. Like, everyone who was involved just read the treatment and they were like, I love this. I want to be a part of this. This speaks to me on a very deep level. And it was all women. Every single person on the crew was a woman, and even post was females.
Now, I hope you understand this question when I ask this, because I think this is probably the most important question in this interview.
Mhm.
The Ralph who I met years ago, is she gone? And am I
No.
talking to a I don't want to say new Ralph, but
Uh-huh.
what I mean is, no, sometimes people close the door and they open up a new one, and
Yeah.
when that door is closed, it's closed. Is it that way in your life right now?
No, never. No, I think that, like, if anything, I actually used my first EP, the self-titled Ralph EP,
Mhm.
as inspiration for this new EP. Like, that's actually my favorite body of work that I've ever put out. So I actually wanted to try to tap back into that Ralph. Um, but I think that, like, you know, I like to think that, like, I'm evolved. You look at someone like Madonna and Lady Gaga, and I don't think that they look at their past albums and go, oh, that's not me anymore. I think as an artist, it's really fun to push yourself, to evolve, to try new things, and to continue to, like, be more courageous, more headstrong, um, to know yourself a little bit better. That's also just what happens as you age,
Yeah.
Like, I'm, I'm a woman in my 30s now, and it's like I have crazy boundaries. Whereas 8 years ago, I didn't. I know myself better. I'm not as afraid to
Yes.
try new things. So here I am, literally editing, producing, choreographing, making my own outfits for tour. Like, I feel like I'm at a point where I'm like, if you're afraid of it, maybe you should try it and see how that goes. And maybe you'll love it. And maybe you won't.
It's interesting that you say that, because I feel like this is you. This album, as much as the last EP was great and everything, I feel like this is truly who you are. This is probably the best representation of who you are, not just musically, but as a person.
I agree. And I love that that's something that I didn't tell you to say that. Like, that is the ideal feedback that I would get on this EP, because I had this sort of like ethos where I was like, okay, if I go on stage and I'm singing or I'm wearing something, like, if I don't believe in who I am and what I'm doing, the audience will, it's like we've seen artists before who feel like they feel kind of like created, or they feel like a little bit uncomfortable, and they don't necessarily believe what they're doing. I, at least, as someone who's very interested in um you know that kind of the artistry, like, I noticed that. So I really wanted to make an EP that was undeniably and so obviously authentic to who I am. Like, every song feels, because not only did I write the lyrics and push, like, everyone I worked with on this EP was a new group of people, new writers, new producers that I found. And everyone who worked on it, when we went into it, I was like, I don't need someone to do this for me. I want someone who is down to collaborate with me. And I want someone who's going to, push back. Feel free to push back on my suggestions and my ideas, but let's do it. Let's try it. And then if it doesn't work, I'm humble. Like, if it doesn't work and it sounds like crap, fine. And that's what it was. It was basically like me and friends working together and trying new things. And every time I threw out an idea or sent them a demo, they weren't like, nah. They were like, cool.
Is there a chance that you're going to maybe start making films? Because I feel like you're ready to make maybe a fictional character, but they're not fictional. It's you into
Mhm.
some kind of story or something.
I mean, I don't know. I went to school for film. I have a degree in film theory, and I grew up in a family. My dad's a filmmaker. My uncle's a filmmaker. My aunt's a filmmaker. My
Oh, I
brother's
didn't know that.
yeah, my brother's a director and a writer. My little brother is a DP. I'm very much surrounded by film people. And it's always been a passion of mine. I've always had ideas, tons and tons of ideas, which is why music videos kind of comes easy to me. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I'd love actually to do my like goal would be actually to do more acting. Um, and that's probably not necessarily acting in my own things, but that's what I wanted to be as a kid forever. Forever was an actor. So I think like I'm kind of at a point where I'm like, try it all. Do you know what I mean? Like if you feel passionately about something, try it. You know, I think I'm surrounded by right now a lot of creative people who have their hands in all different little honey jars, and that's very inspiring to me.
I think that's especially with what happened during the pandemic, we have to learn to do that. So, tour wise, are you going to tour this? I think things are happening in the
I am
fall.
touring. Yeah, September and October I go on tour in Canada and the States.
Fantastic. And Toronto, is there going to be a date there? Please,
There
please,
is
please.
Toronto. I think it's October 6th. I should know that, but don't quote me on that. I have my tour poster is on my website. It's on my Instagram. All the tour dates are there, and it's a good little crawl across Canada and the States. And it's going to be really fun. But the Toronto show, especially, is going to be very fun. I'm going to have guests. I'm going to have dancers. I'm going to have surprises. And it does, I know a lot of people like to buy tickets at the door, but it does help. Just keep in mind, it does help an artist with ticket sales when you buy them online. So just keep that in mind if you want to support your indie artists.
Fantastic. And you're absolutely right about that. Look, I'll let you know. I'll let you go because I know you've got a lot going on today, but I got to say, thanks so much for making time to speak with me. Thank you so much for always making time to speak with me. I love following this journey of yours. And I just can't wait to see what you're going to do in the future because you are really one of those people who know how to break the mold
Thanks.
and be so inviting to others to be part of it. So thank you so much for the great music. And again, thank you so much for the interviews.
Thank you. That's a huge compliment. I really appreciate that.